All right, today we're jumping into a fishing technique that is just incredibly effective. But here's the catch. It works because it forces you to fight your most basic instinct as a fisherman. It's called Tai Rubber, and it's a real game changer.
So let me ask you this. You're out on the water, you've been waiting all day, and then you feel it, that telltale tug on the line. What's the very first thing you do? I bet for almost all of us, it's that hard, fast jerk to set the hook, right? Well, with Tai Rubber, that's the single biggest mistake you can possibly make.
And that brings us right to the core idea, the whole philosophy behind Tai Rubber fishing. And believe me, it's a tough one to get your head around. It's all about the art of not striking.
Seriously, every single fiber of your being, all your years of fishing experience, is going to scream at you to react when you feel that bite. But with this system, finding success means you have to fight that instinct and do the complete opposite.
This is the golden rule, plain and simple, from fishing expert Farhat Gunai. It literally means you will not strike. No yanking the rod, no jerking the line, nothing. You just have to resist that powerful urge and trust that the system is going to do the work for you. Now, to understand why this works, we've got to take a closer look at the lure itself.
Okay, so let's break this lure down. It looks pretty simple on the surface, right? But trust me, every single piece is engineered to work together in a very specific and, honestly, a very deceptive way.
First up, you've got the head. Now you might look at it and think, okay, it's just a sinker. Its job is to get the lure down to the bottom into the strike zone. But there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye.
So this head has two jobs. Yeah, number one is providing the weight to get it down deep, but its special aerodynamic shape is the real secret sauce. See, as you reel it in, it doesn't just come straight up like a boring old sinker. It actually creates this awesome side-to-side zigzagging motion. And that little dance is what gives the entire lure a much more lifelike and way more enticing action. All right, let's move on to the main attraction, the skirt. This is the part the fish is actually looking at, the part it's going to try to eat. The whole idea here is that the skirt looks like a small octopus or a squid, a favorite snack for a lot of big predator fish. But the real magic, the part that's just brilliant, is how it sinks. Because the line slides freely through the heavy head just plummets straight down, but the skirt, it kind of glides and flutters down slowly, separate from the head. Imagine you're a fish looking up. That looks exactly like a stunned, vulnerable, easy meal. It's totally irresistible.
And finally, let's talk about the business end of this thing, the hooks. Now, if you look closely, you're going to notice something weird. They're surprisingly small, and that's completely on purpose.
This is a perfect case of where less is definitely more. Here's why they're so small. First, they stay completely hidden inside that flowing skirt so they don't spook the fish. And second, they're designed to be incredibly sharp so they grab hold on the very first super light, is this food kind of peck.
Okay, so we've got this super deceptive lure, and we know the number one rule is don't strike. So what are you supposed to do? Well, the whole technique boils down to one word: consistency. It sounds almost too simple, but here it is. You drop the lure all the way to the bottom. The second it hits, you start reeling in with a steady, non-stop retrieve, like a machine. Now here's the hard part. When a fish hits, you do not change your speed. You do not strike the rod. You just keep reeling. Same speed, same rhythm, until that fish is fully hooked. You let the fish hook itself. I know, this sounds completely backwards, right? But there's a brilliant reason why it works. It's all about getting inside the head of your target and understanding exactly how they hunt. Okay, this is the aha moment. See, predator fish, they often attack in two stages. That first little tap you feel, that's just an exploratory bite, a little peck to stun or injure its prey. Now, if you strike right then, you just pull the lure away and poof, the fish is spooked and gone. But if you keep reeling at that same steady speed, something amazing happens. The lure acts like that stunned prey trying to get away. This flips a switch in the fish's brain. It triggers its instinct to finish the job, and it comes back for a second, much more aggressive final attack. And that's when it hooks itself solid. You're basically tricking the fish into using its own aggression to catch itself. It's brilliant. So now we get the how and the why of the technique. Let's quickly talk about the gear. And with Tai Rubber, having the right setup isn't just helpful, it's pretty much essential to making this whole counterintuitive thing actually work.
The whole system is built around sensitivity and a smooth, steady action. So you're going to want a rod with a very thin, super sensitive tip so you can feel those first little bites. For the reel, something with a high gear ratio is key, so you can start that quick, steady retrieve the second you hit the bottom. Then for your line, A thin PE braid, maybe a 1.0 to 1.5, cuts through the water with less drag, and you'll finish that off with a fluorocarbon leader, which is basically invisible underwater. It's all designed to maintain that perfect, unbroken illusion for the fish.
All right, let's wrap this up with a few pro tips to really boost your chances, and then we'll look at how to tell apart a couple of the cool species you're likely to catch.
You know, color can make a huge difference. Orange is your go-to for deep or muddy water, because it looks just like a shrimp. Black is great because it creates a really strong silhouette that fish can spot from below. If you're after something like grouper, a glow or white lure can be absolute dynamite. Oh, and a little trick for slow days. You can add a tiny piece of squid to the hooks. Just be aware that tends to bring in the smaller fish. The real trophy hunters often go for the skirt all by itself.
Okay, so there are two fish you're very likely to catch with this technique. The young tranza, which is a type of dentex, and the fangri. And at first glance, they can look almost identical. So here's a quick guide on how to tell which one you've got.
It's actually pretty easy when you know what to look for. The young tranza has these really long third and fourth spines on its dorsal fin. They almost look like little antennae. It also has a very clear black spot right at the end of that fin. The fangri doesn't have either of those things. The dead giveaway for a fangri? Its body is covered in these amazing bright blue spots. You can't miss them. The tranza has no blue spots at all.
So when you think about it, the whole Tai Rubber system really makes you question everything you thought you knew about fishing. It proves that sometimes the best action you can take is no action at all, and that the smartest move is to just let the fish outsmart itself. It kind of leaves you with this cool question to chew on. In a sport that's so often about aggression and power, could it be that the ultimate advantage is actually found in patient deception?